Okay, right. Hello everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to SharePoint Saturday India Online and to my session. Let me assure you that the next hour will be quite exciting for us. Today the topic of my presentation is best practice for developing SharePoint solution. My name is Shaki Majid Khan, and you can see my details. You can see my website address. It's shakimajid.com. You can add me on Twitter. It's meetsnk, and you can even email me at shakimajid.com. Okay. It's not about myself. I'm working as a technical lead in Carahsoft. Got more than 5 years of experience in SharePoint. Previously, I was speak to SharePoint Saturday Sri Lanka and SharePoint Saturday Dubai, and I'm running my user group here in Karachi, Pakistan as SharePoint Techies, and it has more than 500 registered user in my user group, and we used to conduct regular meetings, regular session in our user group. Okay, so here I am across the border in Karachi, Pakistan, and I'm working here in Karachi, Pakistan. I live here and I belong to Karachi, Pakistan as well. Okay, these are some codes for the best practice, and the first one is we cannot control the winds, but we can adjust the sails. And the second one is that it is not necessarily the amount of time you spend at the practice that counts. It's what you put into the practice. And the last and not the least one is My Secret is Practice by David Beckham. And the most I like is the middle one, which is you have to put all of your effort in your practice and give your best shot. This is what we are aiming for, the best practice. Right? Now, the topic of my presentation is best practice for developing SharePoint solution, and what we are going to cover is even the drop in the ocean. In 1 hour, I cannot cover all the aspects of the best practice, but I try to cover major areas in my presentation. Okay, following topics I will cover in my presentation. The first one is the SharePoint solution. Below that, the form solutions and the Sandbox solutions. And after that, I will cover working with large list and the general contribution, event receiver, and the timer drop. The best practice for developing all these solutions and all this stuff. Okay. For the SharePoint solution, we have a pretty good stuff for applying the best practice. And for these, some of these are listed here. There is avoid unnecessary construction of objects. The other one is disposing objects. The third one is the object caching, and the last one is optimizing code performance. Okay. Now we'll come to the avoid unnecessary construction of SP web or SP site objects. Why we are emphasizing on SP web or SP site object? Let me tell you that SP web or SP site objects can occupy a lot of memory. Avoid construction objects of these types simply to get a reference to a parent object. Indeed, to get a reference to web application, use the if you want to get a reference to the web application or to the form or to the content database, you can use the below logic. Avoid using the SP web or SP site object because it will occupy a lot of memory. I will go through the SP web and SP side object, why we don't have to use the SP web and SP side object in my later slides. But for now, if you want to invoke any object for the web applications, for the farm level, for the farm, or for the content database, you can use the below code, right? Why we emphasize more on the disposing objects? Let me tell you that we face a different scenario all over the life of the SharePoint. The following are the symptoms for not properly disposing the object, particularly the SP side and SP web objects. You will see the application code recycled frequently, especially under heavy load balancing. Other than that, your system will perform poorly, again, in the heavy load scenarios. And the third one is your system will crash and will do unexpected errors such as timeout, page not available errors, and again it is on the heavy loads. So why we used to dispose the SP side SP web objects? Each instance of SP side and SP web contains a reference to a SP request object. That's in turn contain a reference to unmanaged COM objects, then handles communication with the database server. And the SP request object that exists in each specific thread and in parallel threads add useful entries to the logs. Okay, and the default threshold for the specific SP request object is 8. So if you are invoking more than 8 SP side or SP web objects, it will eventually recycle your application pool, or it will crash eventually. So what do we need to avoid this disposition of objects, particularly the SP web or SP side objects? The first is the rule of the thumb. Never dispose SP context, SP context.side, SP context.current.side, SP context.web, or SP context.current.web. Never ever dispose these SP context objects, because these objects only makes once in a life of the SPs or of the SharePoint. If you are disposing SP context in one web part, and if you are using the another web part, and if you are using the SP context again, it will crash eventually. So the rule of the thumb is never to dispose the SP context object. Okay, let me come to the if you can see from this example, I'm using a using context, and within this I'm invoking an object SP web is equal to new SP side, and in between this I'm invoking the SP context.current.web.url and open web. Now you can see that I'm taking the reference of the open web in my web, and you can see that I'm making an object of SP site, which I'm not disposing. So if I'm not disposing this object, it will eventually shut down my server. To avoid this, you can use the following logic. that's using SP site collection is equal to new SP site, sp contact.current.web.url, and after that you can use the another using, and you can invoke the web object within this using scope. So here you can see that I'm using the proper scope for the site collection and for the web as well. So whenever my code goes off from this scope, the SP site and the site collection of SP site object or SP web object will eventually dispose. This is the thumb up, right? For disposing let's suppose that I want to create a site collection within my code, and if I'm using this SP site collection.add, I will give the particular URL for creating the site collection, the domain, then the user, then the primary site collection user, site collector administration, and the email address for this site collection administrator. You can see that I'm not disposing this site collection object. If I have to create a site collection, I will use the using scope, and in the using scope I will use SP site collection is equal to site collection.add, and in the parameter list I will pass URL, the domain users, the user of the site collection administrator, and the email address of that user. So you can see that I am creating a site collection SP site object, and I'm using the scope, so eventually when my code pass out from this scope, it will automatically dispose. Yeah, this is the thumbs up approach. Okay. Yeah. Okay. For creating the SP web object, or creating a web inside my site collection or inside my parent site, sometime we will use the SP web is equal to site collection.allwebs.add, and I will mention the URL for my new web, which is the wrong approach. Why it is the wrong approach? Because I am not disposing the web object, right? And if I want to use the web, and if I want to create a web for my site, I will create this. I will use this URL. There's a certain mistake here, right? Okay. And if you want to, there's a pretty good tool available in the MSDN forum, that it's the SP dispose check tool, which check the disposition of your code, and it will install into your Visual Studio, and it will give you the inouts of each of the objects you are creating, and it will let you know that which of the object is not properly disposing at that moment. So it is very good if you can go through this URL and download that stuff. It is quite good. Okay. So for my give me a second. Okay, yes, here I am. Okay, For the object caching, let me describe some details about the caching and why it is good to caching the objects in the SharePoint. And right, the caching is a good way to improve system performance. However, you must weigh the benefits of caching against the need of thread safety, because some SharePoint objects are not thread safe, and caching causes them to perform unexpected ways. Right? If you see from this example, I'm caching the list item collection object, and what is the problem behind the list item collection object? Because that list item collection object automatically inherit an SP web object, which again inherit that SP which again inherit that SP request object, which is unmanaged, and which will cause you the crashing of your server and crashing of your code. So if you cache the SP list item collection object, it will eventually cause you the same problem which you face in the object disposition, right? So if I want to take the object cache, let's suppose that I have a scenario that I want to take the cache of an object, or I want to take the cache of the data table. So what I have to do for taking that scenario, right? For yeah, here it is. For object caching and the proper object caching, you have to use the lock for caching the object, because at the same time many users are accessing your code, and if you don't lock your code or lock your the cache, it will eventually increase the burden on your system and it will crash eventually. So if you have to provide the log over that section of the code, after that you have to you can see that I'm doing cache of that data table, and after that I just get the item from the data table, and then after that I am taking all the list item collection object into my data table and then into my cache object. So that means that I'm not taking the list item collection into the cache, rather than I'm taking the data table in my cache, which is more good, because if I'm taking the data table in my cache, I'm not taking the SP list item collection in my cache, and which means that I'm not taking the SP web object, which is behind the SP list item collection, and which will avoid me of put my server down, right? Okay. Now here's an example for optimizing code performance. For this, you can see that I have an object which is SP web my web, right? Then I am taking this web reference from the SP context.current.web, right? After that, I have to change the task name. Let's suppose that I have a list which is named as task. and I want to change that list name as a list underscore title, and I want to change the description as list underscore description. Then after that I have to update this all this stuff. So what I'm doing here is I'm using this myweb.list, and in between that I'm using this task name, and then I'm invoking this title. So if you can follow more closely, that I'm invoking the list on each line. Let's suppose that as you can see that it is there myweb.list, the task, and the title. After that again I'm invoking this spweb.list again the task description. After that I'm updating the list. So which is not the right way, because I'm invoking the list again and again. So what to do now is use that spweb, myweb, and here you can see that I'm using the same logic as svcontact.current.web, and after that here is a different part, that I'm taking the list objects rather than I am invoking the list again and again. In my above example, I am taking the list object, and after that I am setting the details. Let's suppose, as you can see, that it is mylist.title and then mylist.description, and after that I am updating that mylist.updates. So I am updating it only a single time, and rather than I'm doing on each of the line. So that makes sense, because that I'm not invoking all the line, I'm not invoking the list on each line, but I'm invoking in the cumulative way, right? Okay, these are some general practice for creating the farm solution. Many of guys, you should have known that when we are creating the farm level solution, we have to specify that you have to deploy this farm level solution to the all of the web application, or to single web application. To the most of the scenarios, we create the farm level solution for the specific web application. And if we are creating the farm level solution for the specific web application, so we have to deploy that farm level solution for the specific web application rather than deploying to the all web application. Why I am saying that don't deploy on the all web application? Because that it's all of the features you have mentioned in your farm level solution. If you deploy it on your all web application, the feature will be available into your site collection feature or your site feature. So in order to avoid this discrepancy, you have to deploy the farm level solution to the specific web application rather than to deploy that farm level solution to all of the web application. Okay. Again, your solution, the farm level solution or any other solution, should contain the maximum resources which you need in your solution, right? Don't use any copy paste from your folders into the SharePoint. Let's suppose that if you want to keep all your sources file in your library, so in your library, on your style library, so don't copy paste all of your resources which you need in your solution from the folder to the site, rather than deploy all of your resources from the Visual Studio. Why I'm doing so? Because that if you are taking all of your solution with all of your resources file with your solution, then it will be a good practice, because in the production environment you do not have the access to deploy all of your solution by your own hand or by copying pasting from your one folder to the SharePoint. So it is a better approach to manage a proper solution for your farm level solution, and to deploy all of your resources file over there. And you can specify that you don't have to override the resources file. If you, let's suppose that if you have some JPGs file and which remains the same as the day one, so you don't need to have to mention that you have to override all of the resources file from within your Visual Studio. So if you want to override that JPGs file, then it will do all of the stuff from your deployment package, and it will copy all these files from your package to the SharePoint. So if you mention that don't override this JPG this resources file, then it will not override this all these files. Okay. For the Sandbox solution, I won't go into the details of the Sandbox solution here, but I will give you some rule of thumbs, right? As you know that the Sandbox solutions service is run on each of the servers, so you can specify that which of the server that will run the Sandbox solution. So it depends upon you that if you want to specify that which of the server will run the Sandbox solution, you can specify that this server will run the this server will run Sandbox solution service. Right. The other one is that you have to plan that which site collection will run Sandbox solution. You can specify that this site collection will run the Sandbox solution, and these site collection will not run the Sandbox solution. So if you have to decide that which of the site collection will run the Sandbox solution or which won't. Okay. If you know the site collection quota, and if you know the required resource quota for your site collection, then it is a good practice to design your Sandbox solution as per your quota, because sometimes the site collection quota increases or decreases from the default quota settings. So it is better to inquire about your quota for your site collection and then design your Sandbox solution according to the quota. Okay. Now come to the most interesting part of my presentation. It's working with load list. Okay. Here I am. You can see that I'm taking a list from SP web object, and I'm providing the string name to that list, which is the wrong approach, right? I guess most of you guys are not familiar that this is the wrong approach. But let me tell you that why this is the wrong approach. Because that if you provide a GUID to the SP web.list, it is a best approach because it is a unique, permanent, and requires only a single database lookup. This display name indexer retrieves the names of all the lists in the site and does a comparison with them, right? So if you provide the GUID, it will just look for a single database lookup and just take out the list from that your list collection. Or if you were in the previous example you were giving the name of that list, so in that case it has looked all the way down to the list collection and the search for the required display name and then take out the list. And in my later example, and I'm giving the list, I'm giving the UID GUID, and other than that you can give the string URL, which is again more preferable than the above one, which is giving the string name to your list object, right? Okay, now comes to the splist.items, right? This is the splist.item, the splist.item.add, and the splist.item.get item by ID. These are not recommended. Anyway, right? Why we don't recommend this splist.item? Because it takes the whole of the items objects, the item splist item collection objects, and then it will use and then it will add will do the required task what you are going to do, rather than taking the entire items object, splist item collection object. You can use that splist.get item. You can provide the query here, right? And after that you can see that I'm doing as the splist.add item in comparison with the splist.item.add. What is the difference between those two? That in the first one I'm loading the whole of the splist item collection object as the items, and then I'm adding the items in that item collection. In my later example, I'm directly adding the item in the splist item collection rather than taking the items, rather than loading the whole of the item objects, right? And the third one is the splist.item by ID. You can see that it's different, right? Hello? Can you hear me? Okay, let's carry on. Okay, if you give okay, in the later example, I'm giving this splist.get item by ID, and I'm providing the sum of the field, the field and the parameter. And in the above example, I'm giving the splist.item.get item by ID. If you compare both of the examples, the one of the major difference is the items. Again, in the above example, I'm loading the item object. In the later example, I am not loading the item objects. I'm taking the item, the single item in my right. And you can even focus that I'm giving the field parameters. So you don't have to take whole of the items, rather than you can provide the field and take as many fields as you want, and just get rid of the other fields. Okay. Uh, this is the same problem what I have discussed in my previous slide, that I'm loading all the SPList item collection object as the items, and then I'm performing the count over that. And in the later in this example, if I want to get an item by the items, then I'm providing the GUID and the item ID. Okay, so what if I want to get the item? I can use this example that I want to get the item count, and I can use the SPList.item count. And if I want to get the item, I can use the item by unique ID. I can provide the GUID of that particular item, and even I can get the item by ID, which is again the difference between the items and the item collection you are getting by getting the method get item by unique ID or get item by ID. Okay. Now for the files, you can see that I'm using that spfolder.file.com. If I want to just look into the number of files in my sp folder, and then I have to use this spfolder.files.com. Or if I want to get the files from that, then I have to use that spfolder.file. And I have to provide the system.string in the parameter, which is again the bad approach. The good approach is that I have to call this spfolder.itemcom, right? Again, this is the fundamental difference is the same, that in the previous example I'm using the item as the SPList item collection, and here I'm using a file. And in my the later example, I'm using the spfolder.itemcom, which directly query the sp folder rather than it will load the files objects, and then again it counts over that. And then in my good example, I'm taking the count from the sp folder. For taking the specific file, I'm using the spfolder.parentweb.get file, and then I'm providing the combined sp utility for the sp folder plus the name of the file. So through that I can get the required file from the SharePoint. Okay. Let's suppose that you have a multiple versions of a file, and if you want to create a versions for the files, so if you are deleting the file by this approach, that you take out the particular version of the list items and then delete it, which is not good, because as you can see that I'm getting the list version, then I'm getting the list version by the ID, and then I'm deleting the list version, which is not that good, because I'm loading this list version and then I'm deleting it. So the good approach is I just call the list file version collection, and then I'll delete this version by invoking this delete by ID method. Because as you can see, the difference between the both of the example is that in the above example, I'm loading this object, that get version from ID, and then I'm deleting that object. And in the later example, I'm deleting the version without loading version, right? Okay, let's come on to the event receivers. Okay, this is the rule of the thumb. If you want to execute an object, if you want to execute any code, right there immediately use event receiver rather than workflows, because that the sometimes the workflow run on the timer job. If you are using the event receiver, which is on the if you are using the item deleting or the item creating or the any event receiver which ends on the ing, it's run on the which is run on the W3WP W3WP thread, so that it will run immediately. And if you are using the any asynchronous event receiver like that, like the item created or the item deleted or the item updated, is by design it's done on the OSW timer. So it is better to run the event receiver, to use the event receiver rather than the workflow if you want to execute your code immediately, because the workflow will take some time to execute that code. Okay, and for my event receiver, I have a couple of recommendations for you guys. Never to instantiate an SPWeb, SP-side, SP-list or SP-list item in your event receivers, right? Why I'm saying that why don't you use the SPWeb, SP-side, SP-list or SP-list items in your event receiver? Because it will increase the significant additional rounders to the database, because one write operation can result in up to 5 additional round trips in each event receiver. So if you are creating an SPWeb, SP-side and SP-list object in the event receiver, then it will eventually take the burden on your server. And again, if you are updating any list items on the on your created on your SP list item, and if you are updating this SP list item, and then it will again cause the subsequent calls to your database, and it will make the other event receiver to fail, right? So if you really want to execute the list item or the list item update, you can use the property.openweb and the property.list item, and do avoid to create a SPWeb, SP-site, SP-list or SP-list item object in your event receivers. Okay, and another okay, let's come to the timer job. If this is the first one is okay, excuse me. The first rule is that always run the timer job in off hour. This is the this is the rule, thumb of the rule of the thumb, and always run your timer job in off hours. If you want to send an office, if you want to create, if you want to run the if you want to send an email to the employees, always give the always run the timer job in the off hours so that it won't put the extra burden on your servers. Always the other one is that always perform the always take out your timer job while deactivating the respective feature. Let's suppose that if you want to create, if you want to deactivate that feature, if you want to deactivate, if you are deactivating the feature, and any timer job is associated with that feature, so you have to so you have to take out that timer job while deactivating this feature, because if you don't take out the timer job, it will run it won't deactivate once you deactivate your feature. So it is very good. So it is very good to take out the timer job once you are taking or deactivating your feature, right? The last rule, or the last rule of the thumb, is that don't use sp-contacts, sp-contact.current and sp-contacts.current.web in the timer job, because the timer job is running on the different thread, and it doesn't carry the context for that site, for that current context. So if you are using that sp-contact or sp-contact.current and sp-contact.current.web, it will take you into the deep trouble. Okay. For the general consideration, always use the proper feature name and description. Why use the proper feature name and description? Because the feature name and the description is available on your site collection feature or your site feature, as depends on the scope of your feature, and then define the name and the description. So it is better to provide the proper feature name and the description for your feature. Okay, so again, use the feature as it required by design, right? Let's suppose that if you want to do a certain kind of work which is required a site collection activity, so make your scope of the feature as the site collection rather than the SP site or the SP firm level, because that once you are creating the feature will deploy according to the respective scope. So if your work is for the SP web or the site, then you use the scope level of the site or the site collection. Depend on your particular need. Make sure that your solution have a proper, consistent naming convention. Always use the proper namespaces and the class names and the web parts names, so that whenever anyone use your code after a while back, so he can trace out that what you are actually trying to do, and how you are make all of your solution appropriately. Okay. And the final thing is that for the deployment discipline, during the deployment and reflection process, while updating or upgrading custom solution, please use the correct version of WSP to retract solution before deploying or upgrading the custom code with a new version of this WSP. Why so? Because this would ensure activating or deactivating feature references of the current version of WSP. Right? Okay. Okay. This is now I'm at the end of my presentation. Thank you very much. Again, this is my name, Shaki Majid Khan, and you can contact me on my Twitter, meetsmk, and you can even email me on me@shakimajid.com. And thank you all you guys. I hope that my presentation will help you for creating the good solution for your SharePoint. Thank you guys.